everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I will show you how to crochet the Mulberry Scarf. This scarf is the narrower version of the Mulberry Shawl, a pattern I did a while ago, and it's available on the Flux website as a written pattern, and it's also available on the Flux YouTube channel as a video. So to get started, you'll need a 6.5mm K crochet hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle to do your finish work, weave in your ends, and also add fringe. And you'll also need one skein of Lion Brand's homespun yarn. This, in case you're wondering, is called Ambrosia. It's kind of like a raspberry purpley color. And this is called Baroque that we'll be using for the tutorial today. It's kind of a lavender. So to get started, we'll scoot this out of the way. To get started, as a side note, I just wanted to let you know, whenever I use homespun, because it kind of unravels at the bottom a little bit, before I begin my project, I always like to give it a fresh cut, because it can kind of pull apart, and then just put a little knot at the end just to keep it from unraveling too much while you do your project. And then when you go in later to weave in your ends, you can just trim this in order to thread your tapestry needle. So to begin, we're going to put a slip knot on our hook, and then we're going to chain 16. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and pull it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's pull some more yarn out here. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So this is our starting chain, and you don't want to make it too tight. You want to keep it nice and loose and elastic. So to begin our foundation row, we're going to work a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. This loop here doesn't count. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I wanted to mention too that homespun yarn is very wiggly, so sometimes you have to kind of feel for those chains. 2, 3, and 4, like that. So to work a double crochet, we're going to wrap yarn around hook, insert our hook into the chain, and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. You'll have 1 loop on your hook. Next, we're going to work a double crochet in each of the chains all the way across. So double crochet in the next chain, and in each chain all the way across. We'll just get some more yarn. Okay, we're coming up to the end of the row here. Just have a few chains left. And I wanted to also mention that this pattern is a really good pattern for charity. It works up really fast. The yarn comes in a lot of pretty colors, and it's soft and machine washable, which all make it good for charity. Okay, we worked a double crochet in the last chain as well. So this is our foundation row. To move on to the next row, we're going to chain 3 and turn. 1, 2, 3, and turn. And from now on, all of our stitches will be worked in the spaces of the piece. So up here, this little loop you see here, that's the stitch. But down here is the space in between all these double crochets. We're going to be working in the spaces. So we're going to work a double crochet in the first space, just like that, and in each space all the way across the row. Some projects where you work the stitches into the spaces, it goes super fast because you're not looking for those stitches. You can just kind of feel for the spaces. And like I said, this pattern works up very quickly. And you could even give the scarf and the shawl in the same color as a gift. Would make a nice gift. So we're coming up to the end of the row. And work it all the way across and in this very last space as well, the turning chain space. Okay, so that is row 1 complete. To move on to row 2, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. Then let's go back to our original scarf for a moment. If you look at the original scarf, there's a row of eyelet across here. So this row will be our eyelet row. So let's get our stuff out of the way here. Okay, so to work the eyelet row, row 2, we chain 3 and turned. We're going to work a double crochet into the first space of our row. Then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Then we're going to skip the next space, and in the space after that, we'll work a double crochet. So it'll look like that. Chain 2, skip the next space, and the space after that, you'll work a double crochet, chain 2, skip the next space, in the space after that, work a double crochet, chain 2, skip the next space, in the space after that, work a double crochet, chain 2, skip the next space, in the space after that, work a double crochet, chain 2, skip the next space, and in that very last space, you'll work a double crochet, just like that. So our eyelet row, or row 2, is complete. Let's move on to row 3. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. And in each one of these eyelet holes, or spaces, in the pattern they're referred to as the chain 2 space, meaning the space was created by the chain 2s we worked in the previous row. We're going to work 2 double crochets in each one of those chain 2 spaces, or eyelet holes, whatever you'd like to call them. So just like that. And we'll just do that in the next one. and in each one all the way across. These bulkier patterns that are chunky use lots of yarn. Okay, so we're gonna 2 double crochets in the next eyelet. Okay, we're coming up to the end here. So work 2 double crochets in that last chain 2 space, that last eyelet space. Then at the end here, this turning chain space, we're just going to work 1 double crochet. So row 3 looks like this. To move on to row 4, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. And we're going to work a double crochet in each one of these spaces all the way across. And as you can see, we've only done a few rows. However, our scarf is growing in length pretty quickly. So sometimes it's fun to do patterns like that because it gives you kind of an instant gratification. So we're just working double crochets in each space all the way across. And my stitch here seemed to pop off my hook, but that's okay. No big deal. And double crochet in the last space as well. Okay, so that's row 4. Row 4 is complete. Then we're going to move on to row 5. To complete row 5, we're going to chain 3 and turn. And row 5 is worked exactly like row 4. So we're just going to work a double crochet in each space all the way across. Till the end of the row, the same way as row 4. Okay, so we're coming up to the end of the row here, just like that. And you'll also work a double crochet in that last space, the turning chain space. Okay, so this is the basic pattern. We've just did all the rows. This was rows 1 through 5. To continue with your scarf, I'll grab the original scarf over here. To continue with your scarf, you'll just keep repeating rows 2 through 5 until you get to the desired length. And I just kept going until I was almost out of yarn because I wanted to save a little bit for the fringe. However, fringe is totally optional, so if you do not want to add fringe, you could just keep going until you run out of yarn. and you'll just keep working the piece, and you'll want to end on row 5. That way you have a symmetrical, see how you have a solid panel and then an eyelet panel. You'll have that same look on both sides, and you don't really want to end on this eyelet row because it would be difficult and maybe not so neat looking to attach the fringe. You want to attach it to a solid row there. So I just wanted to show you one more thing, and before I show you the fringe part, the finished scarf measures about 6 inches wide and I got about 62 inches long. However, because of tension and the choice to add fringe or not, and if you want to work till the yarn is all gone, your scarf could potentially be a little bit longer. But mine worked out to be about 62 inches long. So this is the fringe side. I'm going to show you how to add some fringe really quick. Let's bring over the other end, and I deliberately did not add fringe. So actually, if you're deciding on whether you should add fringe, here's what it looks like without fringe. And again, if you end on row 5, see how the bottom is symmetrical to, that's a personal preference. I just like when they look the same when they're hanging off of your neck there. So to add fringe to your scarf, and again, this is totally optional, here I added some fringe, and I made my fringe pretty long, and we'll get this side out of the way. You want to save a little bit of yarn for your fringe. Just grab that. I have a little bit left here, and I deliberately left this side fringeless so I could show you what you're going to do. And you don't necessarily need to measure, because you can always trim up the bottom and give it a little haircut later. So what I do is just take your yarn. You can lay it on the table like I'm doing, or you can do it in your hand. And depending on how thick you want your fringe bundles to be, these are only a few strands. They're not too thick, just because the yarn is bulky. But you can make yours thicker if you're doing thinner yarn. But to make your fringes look kind of like that, I just did a few strands like this. And then you'll take your scissors and just trim off that piece. And then you'll go back to your scarf. And I'm right-handed, so I'm going to put this on this side instead. Here's our yarn over here. And what you can do is just insert your hook into the chain or the stitch at the bottom here. Just like that. And then take your yarn. Now I had it sitting here for 2 seconds, so it got tangled already. But you'll take your yarn and you'll just hook it onto there, hook it onto your hook like that, and just pull it through so that you have a loop, just like that. Then you'll take the bundle and you'll hook it on your hook like that and just pull it through that loop, similar to when you're fastening off at the end of a project. And then instead of pulling it like this, which can pull your stitches, I like to take the knot and just kind of help it like that. So that's how you add fringe. Now at the end, when you want to neaten things up a little bit, now this fringe on this side, let's see, my tape measure here, it's about 7 inches or so. We'll just call it 7 inches. To keep it uniform, when you give it its little haircut, you can measure. Now I'm trimming this piece now, but just because I just did one. If I had a whole thing of fringe, you really want to cut it all at the same time, just so it looks uniform. And I kind of do mine in bundles, sort of, so it's easier to manage. And so that's how you add the fringe. And that completes the Mulberry Scarf tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again!